Welcome to the Single Era Diaries, exploring the journey of a woman who hasn't experienced what it's like to be single in her entire adult life, and pretty much most of her teenage life too. Each episode will navigate the journey of finding a sense of identity, exploring the challenges of co-parenting, finding love of self, and healing, all whilst tackling the complexities of the checkered landscape of dating and dating apps, meeting new people, and operating solo in a world that celebrates couples, marriage, and codependency. I am your host, founder of Nascent Media and newly single woman, Jade, and this is the diary of my single era. Welcome back to the Single Era Diaries Season 3. Oh my goodness, we're on Season 3. Which I figured, given that it's a new year, with all of the fresh starts that we are hopefully having unfold for all of us, that launching into a brand new season of the show, well, it just felt right. And with the new year, new season, new start theme in mind, and in recognition of the many changes that have been unfolding, not just for me, but it would appear for so very many people, several friends included, who are also experiencing this shift in their lives, in their relationships, in their relationship status, it's safe to say that change is definitely afoot. So, with fresh starts, new chapters, and new seasons in mind, I wanted to kick off this season by exploring a topic that can really feel like a daunting prospect when embarking on your single era. And it certainly did for me. And I figured, look, if this is something that I felt challenged by, no doubt there are others that are going to be feeling challenged by that too. And it's the prospect of opening yourself up to exploring new relationships, to meeting new people, and to maybe finding love again after experiencing the breakdown of a relationship and the subsequent heartbreak that comes with it. And with everything in life, sometimes the idea of starting something before you're truly ready can hold you back from doing the very thing that will somehow make everything better. And when it comes to being in the midst of your single era, opening yourself up to the prospect of love again can feel both overwhelming and something that you might not believe as being something that's ever going to happen again for you. That's definitely how I felt at the sort of latter part of last year, just going into the autumn, coming out of the summer. I definitely had that feeling of like, I'm going to be single forever now. This is me done. But look, as important as finding love again can feel, as important as dating and finding new relationships can feel, when you're in the midst of your single era, it's equally important to acknowledge that healing from the breakdown of a relationship, healing from the heartbreak in whatever form it came, can be a deeply painful experience. And it can leave you feeling so vulnerable, questioning your own sense of self-worth, questioning whether you're ever going to be able to trust again or open up again, and really going through a whole host of different natural reservations that you might be having about going into the dating pool that you might not have been in for a really long time, which I can definitely relate to that sense of, oh my God, the trepidation is real. And whilst it is vital to take the time to acknowledge and heal from that change and all of the challenges that come with it, it's equally vital to also remember that time really is an incredible healer. And when the time feels right for you to put yourself back out there, and it might be a tentative step at first, it might just be creating your first dating profile, it might be having a little look as to who are the kind of people that you could meet on these apps, it might be just being open to the notion of being invited out with somebody that is a brand new person in your life. Whatever that is, it's really important to know that, yes, okay, it might feel scary. Putting yourself back out there can feel scary, but this is really a part of the healing journey itself. And for many of us, whilst relationships, looking at them as not having worked out and viewing that as being a failure, I actually view looking at the demise of a relationship now as being something to help prepare us to venture back out into the world again, to establish new relationship dynamics, and to really open ourselves up to finding those relationships by evaluating our previous one that we have come out of and contemplating, well, what didn't work for me? What was it about that wasn't working? What was it about that, maybe the communication or the direction that it was going in? Like, what was great about it? What wasn't so great about it? And actually taking the approach of this being a moment for some self-development, like offering an opportunity to identify what it is that we want to have and what it is that we're going to leave behind. So I think I've shared on the podcast, certainly in the earlier episodes, about the fact that, in all honesty, I really embarked on putting myself back out there and going onto the dating apps. I really did that probably before I was ready. I didn't think that I would have been able to really explore the dating app options as quickly as I did. And I really did it, I think, in response to what was going on in my life at that time. But also, the honest fact is, I was recovering from the demise of my former long-term relationship. I was overcoming and recovering from chronic burnout of a really busy couple of years of my business and my going back to grad school and all of that. And I had the idea for this podcast, given that my life was falling apart. And I just figured, well, for research and journalistic purposes, it makes a lot of sense to go on the dating apps. And I'd never used a dating app before, as I've shared previously. I'd never really been taken out on dates in the real sense, because I'd been in relationships for such a very long time. And there wasn't really a courting period as such with my last relationship. It just kind of, happened very quickly and just kind of was there for a really long time. And I think thinking about those things, and this might be similar for you if you're listening and contemplating going on the apps, or maybe you've done it already, but it just really, the combination of those things happening made me feel like I should just put myself out there, despite 100% feeling the fear about doing that. And so if you do find yourself, like me, feeling the fear about restarting the search for what can happen, relationships, where can this go, maybe even love again, it's really important to ask yourself, what am I scared of? What is it that I'm feeling fearful about? Is it the fear of rejection? Is it the fear of letting myself be seen? Is it, and what I mean by that is not just without clothes, although that can be a genuine, concern, especially if you've, had the kids and stuff and you've got a bit of a, not quite experiencing the body type that you used to have at an earlier point in your life. That can be part of the fear as well. It could be the fear of having your authentic self be seen, sharing your emotions, sharing your rawness, maybe your past, maybe there are things that you've experienced that you're not yet fully comfortable with sharing with a new person. It could even be your sparkle, like your brightness, your effervescence. I know that sense of, am I going to be too much, is a very real concern for so very many people. But crucially, if you're able to identify and work with what it is that you are fearful of, then you can at least be aware of it and manage it as and when that comes up throughout your dating journey. For many, myself included, it can really one of the overarching fears can be a fear of rejection. Not that being rejected is an issue, myself as somebody that's in business and the process of winning clients and working with people is one where you'll be rejected so very many times, but there's a different emotional risk to putting yourself out there to identify new relationship dynamics, and the fear of that not working, particularly when you have recently, or it might feel recently, you might feel very raw, the relationship that you've just come out of. So that fear of rejection can be a very, very real thing. And that could be something that's holding you back. But I think with that in mind, it's really important, and this is something that I had to do, especially after the summer when I'd taken myself off all of the apps because I had felt really overwhelmed with the volumes of people that were on there and getting back to people, and I had lots going on, and it just felt really just way too much. And so when I thought about going back onto the apps again in the autumn, what I found to be really useful, and you may too, is considering what it is that you want to have by venturing back out into the dating world again. Like, what is it that you are looking for? Are you just looking to meet new people? Do you want to maybe see what you've been missing in the world? Are you looking for something casual? Are you just seeking a bit of fun? Or are you looking for something more serious and more long term? And bearing in mind what your position is on this can and might well absolutely change as you get out there, as you start to meet people and explore dynamics and relationships and personalities and behaviors and styles and characters and all of the stuff that comes with it, because it can be fairly gnarly on those apps, and you may well need to go through, as I did, a period of like, oh my gosh, this is torturous. Like, where are the nice decent people that don't just want to sleep with me? So look, that could change as time goes on. It definitely did for me, and I think despite declaring at the outset, and really my intention being to just be on the apps for research, for shits and giggles, along with very almost emphatically stating that I was definitely absolutely going to be single for at least 2 years as a minimum before entertaining anything more than simply being on the apps and maybe going on a few dates and kind of enjoying, different people's company and all of that good stuff. It's not how it's turned out, which, is amazing and great. And I think it highlights the fact that for those of you listening, when you least expect it, that's when something will happen. When you have maybe set your stall out as being like, no, I'm not here for anything more serious than just, a few drinks and, let's get to kind of see how people are in the dating world. That will definitely potentially be when something will happen, trust me. But it's important to add that the readiness that you feel about putting yourself out there again, it can also be dependent on you feeling healed enough from the breakdown of your previous relationship to embark on putting yourself out there. Because let's face it, relationship breakdowns are seldom easy or straightforward. Some breakdowns are the result of not just the breakdown of the relationship. There could be abuse, there could be substance abuse, there could be extramarital affairs. There's so many different variables that can impact the continuation of a relationship and its subsequent demise. All of these things can alter the length of time that it will take you personally to feel ready to get back out there again. And it's really about leaning into how you feel and identifying some of the ways that are going to help you get through to open yourself up and be back out there again. So how do we navigate it? How did I navigate it? How can you navigate the journey of opening your heart again? Well, of course, as ever, given that I am all about the solutions, and that's what this show is all about, there's a few strategies that I hope will help. First and foremost is really allowing yourself the time that you need to grieve. And I think this is a really important one that I didn't, in my own experience, fully evaluate at the outset. I didn't recognize that the grieving process was going to be so hard and deep and all consuming for a relatively short period, admittedly, but the grieving process was very real. And so I think if you yourself are listening to this and you are single right now and you have come out of a relationship, and it could have been 6 months ago, it could have been a year ago, it could have been a year and a half ago, it could have heck been 4 years ago, whatever your timeline is your timeline. But by granting yourself the permission to feel and process the emotions of that breakup, and allowing the full range of experiences and emotions, and knowing that they're not going to be linear, each time you begin to feel more at ease with where you're at, it can present a new range of challenges and emotions that you're going to need to work through. And I think acknowledging that from the outset is a really vital tool for you to put yourself back out there again at whatever timeline works for you. And remember, if you are anything like me, which fundamentally human, if you're human, then you're going to feel all of the emotions whilst you're going through that grieving process. You're going to feel the disappointment, the hurt, the anger, the resentment, anxiety, confusion. You're going to feel a sense of loss, sadness. There's also this recalibration where you're learning to be an individual again and not part of a couple. Your family dynamic changes. The things that you would do alter. Your pattern, your schedule, the way in which you spend your time, even down to the level of, going grocery shopping. Like, things change when you come out of a long-term relationship. If you've lived with somebody and if you have started a family with that person, there's so very many emotions that you're going to feel. And one of those might also be relief. It could be something that comes in time where you get that sense of relief that something that wasn't working isn't happening any longer, and you have this sense of freedom and rebuoyancy, maybe a sense of joy and happiness again, which hopefully will resume once the depressive period has ceased. It did, at least in my own case. But I think the part of the process of understanding your emotions and holding space for them is a really vital part of this. And it will also involve leaning on friends, loved ones, maybe even seeking professional help like therapy. It might also involve drinking a lot more wine than is probably healthy. For me, it was a blend of all of those things. And there's no right or wrong way to heal, and there's no time frame that's set for it. It's going to be different for everybody. But the most important thing is that you honor your feelings and take the time that you need, and take each day at a time as well. I would also say that one of the biggest strategies that I now really advocate for, because I've not been good at this at all historically, and that's self-care, the practice of self-care, which is supremely important when you are recovering from the demise of a relationship and wanting to put yourself back out there again. You have to be able to care for yourself and love yourself before you can put yourself back out there again. I think self-care is something that is absolutely crucial to everybody experiencing the aftermath of a breakup and preparing for the dating world again. But for those of you who are also responsible for the care of small humans, I have got to say to you that for you, this applies to you as well. And I say that because as a mum who, like so many other parents, mums, dads, we quite rightly prioritise the needs of our children, or what we perceive to be the needs of our children, maybe the emotional needs of our children, whilst we're navigating the sort of separation of our family and the breakdown of our relationship with our child's father or mother. But it is vital, beyond vital, that even whilst we are choosing rightly to nurture the needs of our children, that we are also taking the time to care for ourselves, so that we're showing up not only for our kids and for our responsibilities, but also for ourselves. So taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, taking the time to participate in active rest, activities that serve you and bring you joy, and crucially, connecting with yourself to get to know you again. This is so very significant when you have exited a relationship, particularly a long-term one, because individuation and understanding you and how you operate and behave and think and feel as an individual, what makes you tick, is of absolute paramount importance. Now, personal growth is, of course, something that I'm really invested in. I think more so now that I'm out of what I would describe as being the sort of the worst part of the sort of the single era, where you start to feel that sense of self-confidence and you start to enjoy being single and you enjoy meeting new people and the whole sort of just navigating this sort of new world that you find yourself in. And what I would say is that opening your heart to the prospect of a new relationship isn't just about romance. It's not. It's also about a journey of personal growth, and it does demand vulnerability. It urges you to work through and break down your emotional barriers so that you can share yourself truly with another person. Because again, when you've been in a relationship for a period of time, you will have become comfortable with sharing the parts of yourself that you wouldn't ordinarily put on display at the outset of a new relationship. And it does take time for you to feel like you can do that again with a new person. And it's fair to consider the fact that post relationship breakdown, you might have constructed some pretty protective walls to protect yourself, to protect your emotions, to protect your heart. If you have children, you may also have constructed walls because you're thinking, how on earth am I going to introduce somebody new to my children? Like, I have got to be very protective of that space. And again, rightly so. But in order to truly connect with others again, it does take significant and continuous, consistent practice of reopening yourself back up again. And to do that, it's really the part of growing in your sense of self and knowing who you are so that you can do that fully and truly. By using this time as an opportunity for personal growth and development, by investing in yourself, it doesn't only build confidence, but it also provides you with this really profound sense of fulfillment. It did absolutely for me. If any of you have listened to the episode that I shared right at the beginning of the Single Era Diaries, and it was talking about the post-breakup glow up and just how I found myself in the gym every single day. Like, that was really my focus, to just get my mind right, get my body right, get my confidence back, and really investing that time in myself. It did fill me with a sense of fulfillment. And whatever it is that floats your boat, by your doing that, by your developing yourself, it could be listening to podcasts like this and others, it could be reading books, it could be joining a self-help group, it could be starting running again, it could be joining a cookery group, it could be playing squash, like whatever it is. By doing that, you're creating a fertile ground for you to open yourself up to new possibilities and new dynamics and new relationships. And I think that also being patient with yourself is really key. On reflection and reflecting on sort of the outgoing year of 2023, which was easily one of the most difficult years of my life, I definitely wasn't patient with myself. I don't think I was patient and gracious enough with myself. And you might find that when you're in the midst of it, that you feel like you're behind or you feel like you need to do something. And I would simply invite and advocate for you to slow down and to just be patient with yourself and the time that it will take for you to heal. It does take time to get over a relationship, and it also takes time to become ready for something new. And what that new thing is will ideally be very different from what you've left behind. You're not looking for a carbon copy of what hasn't worked before and a dynamic that didn't serve you. And every relationship dynamic is, of course, completely unique in its own right. And so the thing that you are looking for might come along faster than you expected. It could take longer. It could be more challenging. There could be lots of dates. There could be lots of frogs that you have to kiss before you meet your prince. There's so many things here, but no matter what, it's the case of learning to trust and listen to your intuition, listening to your actual intuition, so that when you do feel ready to start dating, you can remember that it's absolutely okay to take things slowly, to move at the pace that's working for you and the other person. And in meeting someone that you believe it's worthwhile exploring where things can go, that you accept that you're going to feel vulnerable at times, you might feel anxious at times, you might feel giddy at times and really excited, you might feel a bit confused at times because this is learning about a new person and how they behave and how they operate and the things that they have to deal with as well. There's this sort of conjoining of worlds. And in doing so, you're opening yourself up to connecting and potentially finding fun, happiness, intimacy, laughter, shared interest, great conversations, and who knows, maybe even love with somebody again. Every relationship is unique. And so, okay, maybe your past relationship didn't work out, and that is okay. Finding yourself in a new part of your life, a fresh start, a new chapter, knowing that each person you meet is going to bring something new to the table, is all an enormous part of embracing this part of your single era. But also adopting maybe some of the approaches that I've mentioned here, surrounding yourself with a really solid support system, navigating the healing process whilst putting yourself back out there again. By doing all of those things, you are a step closer every single time to opening yourself up to finding love again after heartbreak. And so on that note, I am really grateful for you listening. Back to this first episode of season 3 of the Single Era Diaries. This is really going to be a whole season. We've got about 24 episodes coming up, all focused on growth and change. And I would love it if you would join me again as we together continue to explore life and love and healing and growth and change and everything in between. So every Wednesday, I'll be back on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And until next week, it would be great to wish you well in your healing, dating, relationship, seeking out of new love journey, and ask that you take care of yourself. Date safely, of course, and please remember, in all of this, it's very, very cool to be vulnerable. And it's cool to take risks, and it is doubly cool to open your heart again, because when you do, great things can and will happen. So, peace out. The Single Era Diaries is produced and distributed by Nascent Media and executive produced by me, Jade Graham. Podcasts grow by being liked and shared, so if you enjoyed today's show, then please be sure to like and share with a friend who you think will enjoy the show too. Subscribe, and if you have a moment to rate and review wherever it is that you listen to your podcast, that would be super appreciated too. Thank you for listening, and peace out.